All right, so just a little bit about myself, you guys. I've been doing hair for just celebrated 8 years this month. I actually just had a birthday, so if you guys go to my page, you're gonna see a lot of birthday stuff on there. But I just want to give you guys a little bit of history on me. So I actually fell in love with Lonza at the beginning of my career when I had been invited to do a fashion show in, yes, lovely Las Vegas. I got to meet some of their global educators like Matt Doolin and Catlin and just so many people. And so at that time, I was able to learn a lot and I fell in love with the brand. And from then on, I've been using it on lots of my clients. What I love about Lonza for all my other Lonza lovers is the fact of the matter that it works, okay? Also, it's a brand that has a lot of integrity behind it. Every product works. So just for example, my favorite product, right? I would say is, of course, this bad boy right here. And I'm sure everybody already has this product and knows lots about it. I'm going to tell you a little bit more. So I love the trauma treatment. You guys know that it's from our Healing Color line. With the Healing Color line, you're going to find that Flower Shield Complex. The best way to describe what that is it's using the technology, not technology, but it's using photosynthesis, right? So having the sun shine on flowers and yet they're still vibrant. However, if the sun shines on your hair, typically it's getting lighter, the color falls out, it gets sun bleached, etc. Well, this Flower Shield Complex helps to keep that color nice and fresh, okay? So that's what I love about this product. Also, it's versatile. So if you don't know, you can use this as a deep conditioning treatment, which is something that I love. I love to use it, put it under the dryer, let my clients sit for 5 minutes under the dryer, 5 minutes out of the dryer, and then rinse. I also can use that treatment before I get into my blonding, which is exactly what we're talking about today. And I did use this to prep my mannequin. And then you can also use it as a daily conditioner if you'd like. You can use it as a leave-in if you'd like. And you can use it as an additive, as you guys already know. I do love a good ribbon of some trauma treatment with my Lonza Decolorizing Lightener or powder decolorizer because it helps to condition the hair during the process. You guys know that obviously we have all of this technology and all the good stuff in our powder decolorizer. However, we can add additional conditioners. We can add pre-treatments and post-treatments. Like the Ultimate treatment is another one, right? You could probably see on my table there, I have my Moisture Ultimate treatment additive. I'm always using this. I use it, I'll give you a little hair hack. I use it in my trauma treatment when I'm doing that deep condition because it makes the world of a difference. But obviously, you know that it has the chelating shampoo. There's also the post spray, etc., that you can use with that Ultimate system. And then the shampoo and conditioner I use to prep my mannequins today is our Revive shampoo and conditioner. You guys know this came out last year. These ones, I keep them on lock. I live, again, in Arizona. Here we have a very dry climate, so especially now when we're transitioning from those triple-digit weather into our, double-digit weather and cooling down, a lot of people have a lot of dryness with their scalp, flakiness, dandruff, etc., because it is already a dry climate. And as you know, when we get cooled down, that's why our cuticles will crack, that's why our lips will get chapped. And so keeping that hair moisturized is so very important. Keeping that scalp healthy is so very important. And as you guys know, the active ingredient in the Revive shampoo and conditioner is what? Type it in the chat if you guys know. Does anybody know? You guys can write it in the chat if you know. It is obviously our CBD additive, and it is the ingredients from Lonza are naturally derived. What does that mean? That nothing got cut down in order to make these products. That is something that is very important. Again, integrity, right? So let's go ahead and get into today. I do want to go ahead and show you what I'm going to be working on. I'm talking about my blonding series today, and today I wanted to show you this gorgeous blonde where you can see no line of demarcation. Everything is nice and blended, and of course we got to customize the front with that modern money piece, right? So, how do I achieve this? Any guesses? Go ahead and write it down in the chat if you guys know already. How did I get to achieve all of this beautiful dimension, right, with no line of demarcation? Also, with this technique, you guys, I'll give you a little tip. Let's see if you guys can guess it. This technique or this hair color can actually last in the hair from anywhere from 4 months all the way up to 6 months to a year. It really just depends on who's your client and how much they want to maintenance it. So what does that mean for us behind the chair? That means money, right? That means money. I always say if you're going to take a long time for an application, if you're going to put in something that's nice and soft with no line of demarcation, you got to think about it. If she's not going to come back for 6 months, then you need to charge her for 6 months of highlights, right? And that's the best way that I like to say it. So it's a great way to explain it to your clients as well, you guys, that the reason as to why I've elevated my price on this technique is because it's going to end up giving you the value. It's going to last way longer. All right, so with my blonding series, what am I talking about today? We're going to be going from a hard line of demarcation all the way to the softest line of demarcation. And when it comes to our highlighting, you guys know that that is a challenge, right? Clients do not want to see harsh lines anymore. It is all about that blend, all about that transition. So how are we going to be able to achieve that? Well, I've got my other mannequin prepped here. And we're going to go ahead and do a mohawk section to really show you that transition. Now you guys already know we have that money piece in the front, right? So typically we're seeing a lot more saturation along the hairline, right? Right here in front, and then we start to see that color start to fall off in transition as we move further and further away from the hairline. So today I've got my Monza, this is my long bristle coloring brush. Now, why do you guys think I'm going to use the long bristle coloring brush today? I actually really like this one for my balayage. I like this one and the baby one for my balayage. But I like this because it's going to help me to be able to create that beautiful soft line when I get close to that base area. And so, we're going to get started. I've already got my foils set. I'm going to go ahead and get my decolorizer. Obviously, you guys know it is a mixing ratio of 1:2. All right. And why do you guys think that that's important to have that mixing ratio the same all of the time? Why do you guys think that that would be important? Consistency, right? Consistency is key whenever you're doing your hair color. So that's sometimes why you'll see their stylists that will only mix with their color with grams, right? Because we know that grams are much smaller than ounces. That helps you to be much more precise, right? So you guys, that's just a great tip. Just a little bit more about where I have been, because I know my Lonza tribe has not seen me in a long time. You know what? I went through a whole pandemic with you guys, right? Went through a transition with my job, went through a career transition, and now we're here. So I actually just recently, and this is a drum roll if you can give me one, I actually just recently got my license to educate. And so now I get to teach the next generation of stylists here in Peoria, Arizona. So as a licensed educator, it's a lot different, right? When we're teaching, we're always starting from point A or point zero, right? Making sure that we're building so that our clients, which would be our students, right, can understand everything. And so if I do sound like I am teaching somebody that doesn't know how to do hairs, that's why, okay? Let me grab my comb really fast. There we go. All right. So on this hairline, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and start off by grabbing my clips. All right. I got one more down here, right? All right. So with the good morning, Danielle. How are we doing today? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start off that first subsection, and I'm taking about an eighth of an inch on my subsection. One thing that I like to always tell my students is nobody's hairline is straight, y'all. Nobody. Nobody has a straight hairline. So why would we put a straight line on somebody's hairline? Angle it. Make sure that you're angling it with the hairline. That way it creates that softness. Another thing, when we're on the hairline, it's always great to start with baby lights, okay? So let me turn this thing around so you guys can see. And I'm going to turn this thing a little bit lower so you guys can see. So I don't want to reach up that high, right? Can you guys see that okay? Awesome. So we are going to start off with this first subsection. And I'm going to go ahead, and it's very small, and it's at a slight angle on the hairline, okay? I'm going to go ahead and start off with a very baby light. I always tell my students, go up and down when you're creating that baby light. The more you move, the more pieces you get, right? Now, what's going to be the tip on this is that we're going to actually, and how I created that beautiful money piece on my mannequin, which I will grab for you. That way you can see her. Ain't she cute? Okay, anyways. So, how I was able to achieve this is this, right? So, taking my back-to-back foiling with my baby light. Creating that back-to-back foiling with my baby light actually helps me to be able to actually get that softness that we're looking for along the hairline. So I've got my product, I've got my decolorizer, and what's really pretty about this is it's got that beautiful blue-violet tone that actually helps to neutralize your highlights as you are processing. So that's another thing that I love about the Lanza Powder Decolorizer, you guys. So definitely look into that. It's not just white lightener, okay? It's got a purpose, why you see that beautiful powder blue pigment, all right? So they thought about us. That's how I like to think about it. When they engineered this product, they thought about us. So obviously I would typically have a whisk while I'm doing this. I don't have a whisk today, so it's okay. Don't judge me, all right? Don't judge me. I'm going to wipe off my brush right now. That way we can work smarter, right? Any questions so far? Go ahead and represent where you're from in the chat. And if you guys have any questions, definitely throw them in the chat. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So again, like I said, we're going from the hardest line of demarcation to the softest line of demarcation. However, since I'm on the hairline, I'm going to go ahead and do first my baby lights, and they are back to back. So when I say they're back to back, that means that it's a slice. Then I wove my baby light out of that slice, and then I clipped top half of my baby light up top, and I'm going to go ahead and foil the first part. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys with that, because that can get a little bit confusing for some. But when I lift up, I'm going to push up on my comb as I pull down on that hair, and I wiggle it out. That way I can keep it nice and close to her base, right? And I like to start just under that base area and paint all the way down. I like to paint straight down all the way, and then I come back in after I get those ends on there. And when you're applying your lightener, you're looking to get that even plane, right? So I don't want to see hair. I want to see lightener. I want to see an even plane of lightener. So I've got it saturated all the way down through the ends. Now I'm going to go ahead and take and make sure I concentrate that product at the top of my brush. And now I'm going to change and switch horizontally with my brush, and I'm just feathering that product up to my base. Let me grab a little bit more. Again, we're concentrating it at the base of my brush. Okay, don't judge me because I stirred my product with my color brush. Okay, guys? All right, now that I've got it feathered up to that base, what are we going to do next? And for my students, you could totally drop this in the chat if you already know, right? I'll go and just show you, but you guys can totally write this in the chat. We want to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That way we get that even plane. We're not having any areas that are not covered with the product, so that we get that ample lift. And then of course, I always tell people too, if you're going to fold your foil, the least amount of folding is going to be ideal. Timing plays a role in that, but also the more folds that you have in your foil, the more susceptible you are to getting those lines of demarcation inside of those folds. Once you place your product, it's supposed to be there. You placed it exactly where it needs to be. So pushing your foil and manipulating your foil a whole bunch is not recommended if you want that ample lift. Good morning from Indiana. How you doing? All right, so when I'm also on the hairline and I'm doing these baby like small foils, I like to fold my foil into a triangle. Why do you guys think we're doing that? It helps to give that base way more support so it doesn't slip and slide, okay? I'm going to take the opposite side of that baby light, and guess what we're doing? What are we doing, guys? Go ahead and write it in the chat if you know already. We're going to go ahead and foil it, as I said earlier, to make sure that we have that softness along the hairline. No line of demarcation, right? That's what we're looking for. Go ahead and start just about 1 inch to 2 inches away from the skin. Oh, painting that product down. Go ahead and fold up those ends. Making sure that they're nice and saturated. Again, keeping that foil supported by placing your hand flat right behind it so you have an even plane. Then grabbing that product, again, making sure it's concentrated towards the end of my brush, turning it so that it's horizontal, and feathering up to that beautiful base, okay? Now that I'm finished, just like the last one, what are we doing? X through that thing, okay? That way we make sure we have that even saturation, all right? And then from here, you guys know that if we have a little slip and slide moment, it's very easy for us to fix it because we folded the back of our foil, right? So let's go ahead and lift that thing up, put our tool in, refold to make sure that it doesn't slide, and go ahead and create that cone again. All right? And then now we're going to get into the harshest line of demarcation. If you guys already know when it comes to foiling what the harshest line of demarcation is, go ahead and write it in the chat. Go ahead and write it in the chat. Hold on, I'm missing a lot of stuff. Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. All right, so hardest line of demarcation when it comes to your highlighting. Again, I'm taking about 1/8 of an inch subsection, nice and thin, to make sure that we are getting that ample lift, all right? Go ahead and trim just a little bit more off of that one. All right, so paper thin, right? You guys can read a paper through that, right? Hopefully you can, okay? How many fingers am I holding up? Can you see that? Yes, okay. So now we're gonna go ahead and grab our foil, and this is obviously our what? Our slice, right? That's gonna give you the hardest line of demarcation as your client's hair is growing out. I always tell my students, if you want something bold, that doesn't mean that I need to take a chunk of hair and try to saturate it in a foil. You can take your finer see-through sections, right? And then do them back to back versus trying to make them so thick and then you run into pockets of color not lifting, etc., right? So those things are very, very important. Now that I got that even plane there, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I feather up to that base. And then we want to go ahead and do our X all the way down that subsection. Another thing that I like to describe that X on your subsection, or another way that I like to describe it is if you're just painting down on your subsection while you're foiling, you're going with the grain of the hair. That grain of the hair can actually create a wall that doesn't penetrate, right? But if you're painting this way and this way, it's able to kind of roll and the product is able to seep through that plane. So that's one of the reasons why I'm always stressing that it's important that you are doing the X through the subsection once you are finished to ensure that you have that even saturation. Nobody wants to sit there for another 45 minutes after they did that already, okay? Nobody wants to do that, all right? So I'm gonna do about 4 foils of my slicing, just so that when we're finished, you guys can be able to really see the difference between the different techniques, right? And again, this is your textbook application, right? Then we're gonna get into the more advanced, and that technique on my mannequin, I don't know if anybody guessed it yet, but the technique on my mannequin that I showed you guys at the top of the class is actually Air Touch highlights. How many of you guys are already doing your Air Touch highlights in the salon? It's actually one of my favorite services to provide. However, we know that it can take a long time, right? But that's why, again, it's always reiterate that the time we spent is because of the fact that the client doesn't have to come back to maintenance it as often, right? I always say with those clients that do my Air Touch, I always invite them in for my triple T, which is your trim, treat, and tone, right? Don't necessarily need to get your highlights done again. Trim, treat, and tone them, and then they're good, all right? What are some of your favorite treatments that you guys like to use with Lonza? What are some of your guys' favorite treatments that you guys like to use with Lonza? Oh, thank you for that. Hopefully they're following me already. Yes, you guys can follow me at Cosmo with a K, Chris with a K. That is K-O-S, Cos, K-O-S-M-O-K-R-I-S. Yes, I am Chris with a K. That's why Cosmo has a K too, okay? And I will tell you, Cosmo kind of came from my favorite cocktail. Just to let you guys know. And for the people that know, they know. But I love a good Cosmopolitan, right? So that's where my nickname came from. And guess what? I think I was 21, 22 when we came up with that, so it makes sense. I'm 33 now, but hey, it is what it is. All right? So I'll tell you guys, since we're talking about Cosmos and we're talking about cocktails, right? I'm going to tell you guys one of my favorite Lonza cocktails. And you guys can share one of yours in the chat as well. But whenever I am doing a smooth, silked out press on my clients, they're going to be rocking it for a couple of days. I want to make sure that they're getting that ample moisture, right? We want to make sure that that scalp is clean. We want to make sure that the cuticle is laid down and that that moisture is going to last them, right? That moisture is going to last them, because some people, again, we're in a dry climate here in Arizona. That dry climate will drink up that moisture in about 5 seconds if you don't put enough, okay? So it's so very important. So let me go ahead and share that with you. My favorite cocktail is these bad boys right here. And if you don't know, now you know. All right. We've got our trauma treatment. Like I said, I use that as a leave-in conditioner. That way it helps keep moisture in the hair. It also has up to 500 degrees of heat protectant. And it also helps with protecting the color from the sun, UVA, UVB, UVC, protection, all that, okay? Flower Shield Complex, right? So that it can keep your color vibrant just like the flowers outside that are sitting in the sun. And then, of course, our beautiful neem plant soaking serum. This is the money right here. I use this on my own hair, you guys. So I love it. And you guys already know that the neem plant, that is a remedy plant. A lot of people use that for skin disorders, diseases, etc. So this is super, super cool. Multi-versatile, right? All right. So I've got my 1, 2, 3. You know what? We're going to go with 3 today. We're going to go with 3. I did my 3 slices. Guess what's next in the list of lines of demarcation, you guys? What's it going to be? What's next on the list? It's going to be my teasy light, right? So I'm going to take a slice, and we are going to now, before we foil that slice, we are going to tease it down. Now, when I do my teasing, and I'm going to have her look down. Let me tilt her forward. When I do my teasing, you guys, I typically like to count, and it depends on density how many times. That way I have consistency all throughout. So I go in the mid shaft, and I push down. That's 1. Push down again, 2. With her density, I think 2 is perfect. Okay? All I want to see is that base is nice and teased. From here, I always like to take and put a clip on my teased area, make sure it's out of my way, and then I go ahead and grab my foil. And you guys, they have specific clips for this technique, but I just find that, you know what, I can use any of them and I'll make it work, right? Let's go ahead and paint down, and we're gonna go ahead and continue. All right, so with this, with my teasy lights, again, I like to count, make sure that I have that consistency throughout the application. So on her density, I only did 2 back combs before applying my lightener to the slice. So this is the next level as far as line of demarcation, okay? Gives you that soft, lived-in base that we all love, and it's super modern, right? Of course, I'm still gonna feather up to that base. That way we have no harsh lines, and then X through that subsection, making sure we have that even plane of lightener in there. That way we get the ample lift, okay? Let's go ahead and fold that boy up and close it up. And go ahead and remove your clip and continue. I'm gonna do 2 more of these bad boys, but I'm curious, can anybody guess what the next line of demarcation is going to be after our teasy slice? What's it gonna be, guys? All right, again, I'm coming in, I'm going in the mid shaft, going 1, going in the mid shaft 2, all right? I think that's perfect. Whenever I'm doing that, I'm keeping my tension, pulling that hair, and then using my clip to get that hair out of my way so I can easily do my teasy slice. All right. Now, I'm curious to know, what are some of your favorite fall trends out there? What are you guys doing behind the chair? Are you guys doing a lot more highlighting and getting people light? Do you find that a lot of people are going a lot darker? I know one of my favorite trends right now is that beautiful butterfly haircut, right? Or what are they calling the Bixie, right? The bob and the pixie mixed together. Super cool with the razor. If that's something you guys want to see on the next class, please write it in the chat. I can absolutely offer that. All right. I know one of my favorite platforms shared all of the hair cutting trends just about last week or the week before. I know that Lonza's always sharing new techniques. I seen they did a post where it was like the curls of the week, especially with the new curls line. How many of you guys had already had an opportunity to try the new curls line with Lonza? If you've already had an opportunity, then you guys already know how good it is. But if you haven't tried it, definitely go to your local pro retailer, pro wholesaler, and hit them up. Hit them up and see they have the new line and try it out. Everybody's appreciating the natural wave, the natural curl. And I know I love it because I don't have to, iron everybody out, right? But having the new product really does help with that natural curl and keeping that moisture. Again, like I said, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so for us, we are nice and dry and always having to apply that moisture. All right, so that time I did a little bit more, but I'm just trying to move it a little bit closer to that base. That's why I'm taking it. Did my 2, but just pushing it further. All right, and then it's my last one with my TZ slice. Go ahead and make sure that we are covering that comb, and then go ahead and get that even saturation. All right, from here, what's next? I can break it down and go into what? Write it in the chat if you guys already know. I can break it down, do the same thing, and go into what? My chunky weave, right? My chunky weave. That way, that chunky weave still gives you some dimension. However, it's still going to give you a pretty hard line of demarcation. Feathering up to that base, and then doing my X across the subsection. All right. And we're going to go ahead and continue. And that is my last TZ slice. So now I can go into what? We're going to go into, like I said, the chunky, okay? Still keeping my about 1/8 inch subsections. And then with my chunky, I actually like to go more of a chunkier piece that I'm going to highlight with a little bit of a smaller piece that I'm leaving out of the highlight. Does that make sense? So I'll show you guys here. I'm grabbing it. So this is what I'm taking out of my slice. You guys can see those 4 pieces. And this is what I'm putting into my slice. So this is how I like to do my chunky, where I'm more saturated with my lighter pieces than keeping it 50-50 with my darker to lighter, right? So go ahead, and I'm going to do the next 3 of these guys, creating that next line of demarcation. And so what's another thing that you guys like to use your chunky highlights for? What's another thing that we like to use chunky highlights for? Obviously, it's going to give us a softer line of demarcation than our slices. But ideally, right, I was just talking about the beautiful curls line, the new curls line from Lonza, right? I love a chunky slice on curly hair. Why, though? Why? Because if we do a baby fine slice on curly hair, guess what? Depending on how curly that hair is and how much volume that curl has, we might not see it, right? So it's important to actually make sure that you're doing chunky highlights if you're creating dimension with your curls, okay? That way it doesn't get lost in the sauce, all right? We got that nice even plane. Now I'm gonna go ahead and feather up to that base, making sure that we soften that line of demarcation. There we go, guys. Boom. Now, if you're working on somebody that has already dry hair and they want highlights already, you can always pre-treat them to get that added moisture, right? So you could use your trauma treatment, you could use your ultimate treatment. Today I prepped my mannequin, my styled out mannequin. I prepped her with the ultimate treatment. And I used that moisture to make sure that she did not look dry. Because you know how it goes. We get our mannequins rolling around in the back seat, they roll around in the trunk, they roll around on the floor in the back seat, etc., right? So I had to get her together this morning, and I figured, why not pull out the red carpet for my mannequin, just like I do for my clients. Again, when I'm grabbing that slice, you guys, and I'm going to tilt her forward a little bit more. Can you guys see that okay? Here, hey! All right, let me go ahead and tilt this a little bit lower so that you guys can see. Make sure, there we go. Can you see that okay? Perfect. So that when you can see how I'm grabbing the hair, okay? So again, I'm taking much chunkier slices. Also, this is another thing. When you're going into your weaving, okay, I don't suggest to always grab the same pieces. Last time, I did my first piece chunky, and then I did my second piece as the small. Now I'm going to switch. I'm going to alternate. I'm going to go small and then chunky. Small and then chunky. Small and then chunky. Small and then chunky. Why do you guys think that is? Why would I want to make sure that I'm alternating? It's super important because all of a sudden, you're going to end up having a stripe down that subsection if every one of those highlights starts in the exact same line. So creating that variation is really important, you guys. All right? Especially when we're going in for that softness, right? That blended base and keeping that color nice and modern. So again, like I said, I'm using chunky highlights for, really I use chunky highlights on somebody that wants to create a pop of color. I also use chunky highlights on somebody that wants to has curly hair, right? What's another reason why we can use our chunky highlights? You could use your chunky highlights for somebody that wants really a lot of saturation, but doesn't like the slices, right? That's an opportunity as well. Making sure I'm feathering up to that base and then doing that X back and forth to make sure I'm getting that even plane of lightener. Now add just a little bit more and a little bit more on this bottom area, and then we're good. Fold that baby up. If you need to, you can always readjust that base, right? By lifting that foil up and replacing where you folded it. That way, you aren't having any bleeders or anything like that when you are doing your foiling. I got one more of my chunky highlight, and then we're gonna go into what's next. What do you guys think is the next one? Who can tell me? We're talking about lines of demarcation today when it comes to blonding. What's going to be the next one? If I go from my chunky, or I go from my slice into my teasy slice into my, what's next? Into my chunky subsection, right? And then from there I'm going to go into a medium highlight. That creates an even softer line. And then of course our baby light creates an even softer line. And then we can always tease those, okay? There we go. Go ahead and paint down. I'm going to do this one pretty fast. That way we can get to the good stuff. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to show you guys how I like to do my Air Touch highlights. Now again, with the Air Touch highlights, it is a lengthy technique, but it's so worth the time that you guys put in. Your clients love them too, so definitely take a moment to watch this later if you're not able to stay until the end. Come back and check it out, okay? And then I'll be finishing up with a styling session on one of my curly girls. And I'll show you guys how I like to apply my silk serum from the neem plant silk serum and my trauma treatment. Show you guys how I like to make that cocktail. All right? Make sure I do that X, get that even plane. Beautiful. Anybody? I'm sure everybody is excited for the holiday. I know a lot of people are getting dressed up this year, getting festive this year. I know I'm definitely looking forward to doing that. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys my medium highlight. And we've got that section. Let's go ahead and get started. With your medium highlight, okay, you want to go ahead and take about 50-50 when you're doing your medium. I would say 50-50, so take my slice and then 50% is in the foil, 50% is out of the foil. And that's kind of how I like to think of my medium highlight. All right, 50% in the foil, 50% out of the foil. Now, can I go ahead and create a teasy light for my chunky highlights that I just finished? Absolutely. Can I do a teasy light for my medium? Absolutely. That's why I went ahead and showed you guys that, okay? So you can absolutely do that. Absolutely, you can do that. You can do that on your baby lights, etc. However, for me, whenever I do baby lights, I don't like to tease. That's just me, though. That is just me. All right, now we got our feather up to that base, and then we got our X. Grab a little bit more product. Making sure we have that even plane there. Perfect. Looking good, looking good. We need to readjust our foil. Just lift that baby up and reset. And go ahead and lock that thing in. All right. I'm going to do one more medium highlight, and then we're going to get into our Air Touch highlight, okay? Now, when it comes into kind of what I love to do behind the chair, most of the time I would say I'm always doing a good color makeover. So I love to use my, actually I have a lot of warm colors happening right now, aka fall, right? So I'm using a lot of my Lanza Vibes. I had seen somewhere where somebody had asked, and it might have been somebody else's live, I think it may have been a comment on a post, but somebody had asked about how do you keep reds vibrant? And I would say Lanza Healing Hair and Care, right? The healing color line. It absolutely will help to keep your reds vibrant. That color preserving shampoo helps, right? You also have products like our healing treatment. You have products like our color illuminator from the healing color line that all help, right? But another way, and this is what I usually do with my reds, and again, it doesn't even matter how red your red is, but I like to use Lanza Vibes when I'm doing my red. I will still work with my healing color line, do my permanent application, but I like to glaze with my vibes. And typically when I do that, I have my client under the dryer versus mechanically drying them. I put them under the dryer so that I'm not stressing the hair out. Then I go ahead and apply my Lanza Vibes right on top of their already red hair. And typically I'm going with the equal parts of red and orange because the orange is highly pigmented, aka you guys know that with the Lanza Vibes, that it is going to be saturated, super saturated with the pigment, and then you always mix in your clear for those more pastel tones. So I'll pretty much do equal parts of clear, orange, red, and then glaze them with that, and my clients come back and they look super red. And obviously you know that semi-permanent color is a stain, so after you do that, it's going to stain the hair, and guess what? It lasts. So that is a great way to keep your reds vibrant, your coppers vibrant. I also will take somebody that maybe say has virgin hair, right? If they want to try something for fall, but they're worried about their hair getting damaged or something, you can use no ammonia or no developer with your Lanza Vibes because it is a semi-permanent color, right? So you can transition somebody, and even if you're putting just a violet on dark brown hair, they're going to see that in the sun and they're going to love it, right? Or if you have a lighter brown tone and you put a red on it, and now she has burgundy hair, right, with the Lanza Vibes, right? So things like that are so cool with the fall to keep your clients looking super, super fresh even after they come and spend that time with you in the salon, right? Super important. All right, guys. Any questions in the chat? You guys good? All right. I think I can see everybody. Here we go. Hey. Hi from Jersey. Okay, Layla, how you doing? We've got... Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I see everybody's messages. Hold on, it keeps going to the back to the place that was at. Here we go. Oh, thank you, Marie, for saying happy birthday. That's so sweet of you. Thank you, Lanza, for saying happy birthday. Yes, please follow me on Instagram at Cosmo with a K, Chris with a K. Also on Facebook at Cosmo with a K, Chris with a K. And then, yes. All right, so I did my medium. I did my medium. All right, let's go ahead and do one more of my medium. And then we're transitioning into our air touch, all right? The grand finale of it all. So if you guys want to, you guys can go ahead and take a look at that air touch highlight next, all right? So now I'm going to come back in. Again, when I'm doing my medium, I like to say 50-50 with taking about the same amount of hair out of that slice as I'm keeping in that slice. That way it creates that balance. That gives you that medium tonality, right? Here we go. Lift up, place that foil right underneath, and go ahead and paint down. And then get those beautiful ends in there. There we go. Making sure that everything is saturated. Grab a little bit more product. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead and feather up to that base. Now, I remember, you guys, when I first learned the technique for air touch highlights, I had 1,000 questions. Why? Because all I could see was disaster. That's all I could see. I was like, how am I even going to maintenance this? Like, how long does this last? Like, how do I change this up? Do we start it? Do we have to keep it? Can we transition it back? Like, all that stuff, right? All those questions were popping around in my head. But I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to get somebody to have air touch highlights, okay? So, with your air touch highlight, and I'm going to go ahead, start in this back area here. I'm going to reposition my mannequin, all right? And I'm going to go and do my air touch highlights right here. I'm going to clip that out of my way, and I'm starting my first subsection right here. Let me grab my blow dryer for you guys. Oh, hello. It's right here, y'all. Keep that ass, okay? We got it. All right, there we go. It's official. So obviously, you want to make sure that with your blow dryer that you have your nozzle, okay, directional nozzle, to ensure that you're able to get that even plane of air to be able to separate the hair. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and plug this bad boy up, and we're gonna get started. Sure we're good. All right. Now I'm taking the heat off during this process because we do not need it, okay? Taking the heat off during this process. And then we are going to next take our subsection that we're going to be working with, all right? And again, I'm working in about 8 of an inch subsections, all right? From here, oh, you see all this static, right? No, maybe not. Yeah, you can. I'm going to just grab a foil and see if it helps. There we go. That laid it down a little bit. That was aggressive. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead, scissor the subsection and the hair on my comb. Can you see that? The hair is in my comb. All those lines are being lined up. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to go ahead and blow that hair dry down towards the ground to be able to get it to separate. And I'm pulling out on the comb as I'm doing it. And you can see those shorter hairs coming out. And then I'm going to push it even closer towards the base to get them, to be able to get them even further away, okay? From here, you can actually see all those little hairs that came out. And guess what? I'm going to pull them nice and taut while pulling this up. I'm going to go ahead and grab my foil. And then I'm going to go ahead and place it, okay? Now, this is why you don't see any line of demarcation with this technique. It's because the separation of the hair for what I like to call the air touch low light and the air touch highlight, okay, and that's key terminology, and that's how I was able to answer all those questions that I just gave you guys earlier, okay? The air touch highlight is what I'm foiling right now. And the air touch low light is what I blew out of the subsection that I blew dry. Okay? And knowing that little small piece of information will allow you to be able to do air touch on somebody that has already white blonde hair, or somebody that has previous highlighted hair, or somebody that has virgin hair, right? Of course, we want to make sure we're feathering up to that base. Okay? And then making sure we get that even plane of lightener by going back and forth. All right? And then go ahead and close that baby up. And again, like I said, this is my highlight. Well, all this that ended up falling out is my low light. Okay? So, if she had light hair, say it was already blonde, I would be taking, and instead of highlighting this long hair, I would be low lighting the shorter hair, and that would create the dimension at the base to give her that modern air touch highlight. Okay, you guys want to see it again? Let's go ahead and show you guys. Take my next section. Again, my sections are about 1/8 of an inch. Making sure I clip that out of my way, and then go ahead and take a look, okay? I'm going to go ahead and scissor my comb. Have my hair going through my comb, okay, guys? Then I'm going to go ahead and take my tool. Yep, I did that. Let's run that back, guys. There we go. All right. Now I'm sliding out as I do it. See those little hairs coming out? See those little hairs coming out? And then bring it closer towards the scalp. See those guys, right? That is, again, your low light that fell out. You want to grab those little hairs and pull them down while grabbing the long hair and pulling it up. And from here, I'm going to grab my foil.
I've been like trying to wear it out.
And go ahead and place it.
So you started going to the people already? I've been going to different people because I can't find nobody. So that's why I was like, I need to do something.
There we go. And then go ahead and foil that baby up. There we go, guys. You got it going, all right? And then that is it. One feather up to that base, do your X, get it across, right? And fold that baby up. Now this time, I'm going to try to go a little faster so you guys can see that technique when it is sped up, all right? Taking my next section down, sectioning across, and then we are going in and grabbing that subsection, elevating it up, getting my comb in there, scissoring my section, grabbing my blow dryer, parallel. You want to blow parallel to the subsection, and then make your blow dryer more perpendicular, okay, to the subsection. Parallel and then perpendicular. All right. Grab those shorter hairs, pull them down. Grab those longer hairs and pull them up. All right. Now, for all of my Arizonans, this weekend is Phoenix Fashion Week. If you don't know, now you know. I definitely want to see people there. So I know last weekend it was crazy. Arizona got rain. And so much so that a lot of stuff got canceled, which was one of which was Phoenix Fashion Week. So looking forward to going to that this weekend, seeing the local designers. I know, like I said earlier, the way that I was introduced to Lonzo was through a fashion show that I actually did in Vegas, where I got to meet several of the global educators, and that was like my introduction. And guess what? I've been part of the tribe ever since. Who can tell me what was their first Lonza product that they used ever? First Lonza product that they ever used. Mine was trauma treatment. I always say it's the gateway to the rest of it, right? Mine was trauma treatment. And actually the first time I used it, I used the conditioner and I used it as a leave-in conditioner on myself. And then the first time I used it on a client, I used it as an additive into the highlighting. And I was just blown away. Absolutely blown away. And this was before all of the, bonding treatments that were out there, etc. This was way before that. So definitely good stuff. All right. How are we doing on timing, you guys? It's been an hour. Okay. Perfect. We're making good timing. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit. Finish up these last couple of foils. And then, like I said, I'm going to finish up with the style. And then we'll go ahead and show you guys the finished look. Okay. Thank you guys for coming in today and being a part of the live with me. I really appreciate you guys doing that. There we go. Go ahead and separate those shorter pieces, pulling them down, and go ahead and grab my foil and get it placed. All right. There we go. And I just have maybe 2 more foils, and then we are gonna be great to go, you guys. If you are excited to see this line of demarcation blonding series, and you're excited to see the finished result, please put a thumbs up or some love in the chat. Go ahead and put some hearts in the chat, something, guys. Some flames, right? That way we can do the grand finale here. Make sure I go back and forth, get that even plane of lightener there. And make sure that you're feathering up to that base as well, okay? Just because we're doing the air touch highlight doesn't mean that we don't want to create that additional softness, right? And I've got about 3 more foils, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on, guys. Again, I'm grabbing that section, I'm grabbing that comb. I like to scissor my comb as I keep it in the hair. I grab my tool, turn it on low air, more perpendicular with my subsection, and then become more perpendicular. There we go. And it's simple as that, guys. That is it. Now, as far as being able to maintenance, like I said, if this client is lasting anywhere from 4 to 6 to 12 months with this color, all right, it's going to have the softest line of demarcation. So therefore, that adds value to the service, because it's going to last our client longer, right? So, what if my client says, I want to, I don't know, add low lights? How would I do that? I would be adding the color to the opposite side of my subsection that I'm working on right now. So to the short side, I'd be adding the color to that side versus just highlighting this side. Also, if somebody is coming in and maybe they're a double process, right? And they've maybe got 1 inch or 2 inches of new growth. And you guys, I have seen this out there, okay? And they're like, oh, I want to try the new Air Touch highlights, and somebody just gives them the highlight, they don't give them the low light, their hair is going to look exactly the same, because all you're going to see is that dimension right there in that new growth, that little bit of 1 inch. So it's super, super important that when you guys are doing this, and you guys are maintaining this, or you're working on clients, you think about the fact that there is a low light that can be added in order to ensure that the finished look is complete, okay? And the low light, again, is going to be the opposite side of this subsection. So versus the long side, it would be the shorter side. There we go. All right. And we're going to go ahead and do it again. Any questions in the chat, you guys? Let me make sure I'm not seeing any questions. You guys, no questions. Okay, so let us know in the comments where you're from. No. Yeah, no questions. Okay, no worries. I'm going to keep going, guys. I'm going to go ahead and throw this on. We're going to do 2 more. Actually, you know what? I can leave that. Because that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I did 5 of them. Yeah, let's go ahead and leave that. Go ahead and leave that. Go ahead and do about 2 more. And then we're going to be good to go, guys. There we go. Again, the shorter side is your low light, the longer side is your highlight. Do both. If you have somebody that has light hair and wants to go dark, or do just the low light if you have somebody that has light hair but wants to add that air touch into it. If you don't, then they're gonna look like the same, you know? Gotta add that low light, guys. This is my last foil here. And then I will show you guys my styling while she processes, and we'll finish her out. That way you guys can see, okay? Making sure we feather up to that base, get that even saturation, do my X across, right? And then close that baby up. There we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to just braid this guy up so that it's not in the way when it's finished, okay? And then you guys, let me know if you guys have any questions on anything that you've learned here today. Again, I talked to you guys about the line of demarcation when it comes to your foiling. So we went from the slice on the hairline into the thick weave, right? Where I'm leaving more hair in my slice than I'm leaving out of my slice. And then I went from there into my medium, which was more of my, the medium was a 50-50, right? And then I went from that into my Air Touch highlight, which is my softest line of demarcation. And as you guys know, what would be in between my Air Touch highlight and my medium highlight would be my baby light, all right? And you can add any teasing at any of these highlights in order to create an even softer line at the base for that more modern lived-in feel. And now I'm gonna let her process, okay? Let her do her thing. Again, this is the finished look for those of you guys that are just joining us, so you guys can see. But this is our finished look today. So she is looking fly, all right? She's got those Air Touch highlights. She's got that beautiful money piece. And I talked about the money piece at the top of the class, but that is just 2 of the back-to-back highlights, all right? And then from here, I'm gonna go ahead and show you my styling, all right? We're gonna do a little bit of styling on my curly girl, and then from here, we're gonna go into that finished look, okay guys? I did a little accent highlight on this beauty. She looks phenomenal, all right? She looks great, all right? So, I love this little bit of blonde in the front. It's more of an accent. I did it on a triangular subsection, similar to like how you would take it with the fringe. So that's why I love this look. The way that I did this one, again, it was the triangular section here in the fringe, but I over-directed it back. Or did I do pony legs? Hold on. Yeah, I over-directed it back towards the top of the triangle and then highlighted the ends of it. And it came out really cool. It's really soft because the way that it lays is actually forward, so that's why over-directing it back created that softness around the face. However, I want you guys to see her smoothed out, okay? So this is her kind of lived in, and then let me go ahead and shake her out a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna grab a little bit of my trauma treatment and a little bit of my implant serum. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and remove these gloves because we're done with the color for now. All right. And I've already got my iron going. That way it's nice and warm for us. And then from here, yeah, okay. From here, we're gonna go ahead and apply our product, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do, and she's 100% dry already, guys. So typically with my curly girls, if I'm pressing them out, I usually put them under the dryer with some product, whether it's my trauma treatment for leave-in, if I'm using my knee implant serum, etc. And then I put them under the dryer, allow them to dry 100%, and then I go in with my hot tools, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do about a dime-sized amount of my trauma treatment. And when I do this, I like to say I'm about 50-50 with my mixing ratio. So 1, 2, it's about 50-50 with that dime size subsection. Like I said, this is one of my favorite cocktails. All right. And I'm gonna mix that baby up and emulsify. All right. Typically when I'm applying this, I'm applying it mids to ends, not at the base, mids to ends. It's going to give you that beautiful shine. It's also going to help with nourishment, right? And then, of course, once I'm finished applying, guess what we got to do next? Got to brush it through. Got to make sure we're saturated, right? To ensure that everything is going to look great for our client. So I've got my brush here. Here we go. And whenever you're working with your curls and you're detangling, or you're brushing them out, we want to start at the ends and then work your way up towards that base area. Now, you guys can see the position that I'm holding my tool. When I'm detangling, instead of making my hair go through a whole battlefield of bristles, okay, I turn my brush so that it can be detangled by the rows. Can you guys see that okay? Powerful, right? So definitely trauma treatment with what? Joined late. Hey Marlene, how you doing? What is the look you're trying to achieve? The look that I'm trying to achieve today, or that I'm actually achieving today, is this beauty right here. So we just finished with the Blonding Series application, and this is our beautiful Air Touch highlights with no line of demarcation. I love it because it gives you that modern look, but your clients can wear this for anywhere from 4 to 6 to 12 months. I added in that money piece by doing the back-to-back baby lights, and that's how we get that beautiful pop of color along the hairline. But again, with the Air Touch highlights, there's no line of demarcation, and you're able to really get a beautiful lived-in feel. Alright, so now what I'm working on while I'm processing is I'm working on my mannequin here, and we're doing some smoothing, some silking out. So I just told you guys, if you don't know, you guys can follow me at Cosmo with the K, Chris with the K, at Facebook and Instagram. And that name came from one of my favorite cocktails, right? So the Cosmopolitan. And guess what? I shared with you guys my favorite Lonza cocktail, which is equal parts knee implant serum and trauma treatment for my silk outs, or silkening, okay? Trauma treatment with what? Can you show again? Absolutely, Layla. I will go ahead and show it to you again. It's trauma treatment and the knee implant serum, equal parts, okay? And I apply that to my client's hair after they've already dried under the dryer. That allows them to have a lot more strength once I put that iron in, versus mechanically blow drying them with my brush. I find that it keeps my client's hair a lot more healthy. So definitely try that for your curly girls out there, okay? Let's go ahead and get her silked out, you guys. I've already prepped her with product. I was starting to detangle here. When I detangle, again, starting at the ends and working my way up to that beautiful base. And for my clients, everything is beautiful. So beautiful base, beautiful foil, beautiful curl, beautiful color, beautiful, all of that, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so I got this side done. Let's go ahead and get her started. I'm gonna go ahead and take my first section. Now, when you're working with your silking clients and you are straightening their naturally curly hair, I always say this to people: because sometimes people think like taking smaller sections helps to make the hair straighter. But actually what it does is it actually gives a lot more stress at the scalp when you're not picking up enough hair. What does that mean for our clients? That means that you could have snapping happen at the scalp. You could actually take such a small section that maybe the texture of hair could be fine, meaning more fragile, right? Another thing too, when it comes to working with my textured clients and I'm soaking them out, I like to keep my iron below 400 always. So I'm anywhere from about 350 to about 375, 380. Never past 390. And the reason being is because if we're going to be doing this service consistently, then over time it's going to occur what? Damage, right? And so why do I need to go and put it all the way up to 500 degrees? We are not doing no Thanksgiving turkey right now. We're just silking out the hair, okay? So that's why we only want to keep it about that 350 to about 375. Coming in, chasing my comb straight through the ends, not to the ends, okay? Can you see that? Straight through the ends, not to the ends. And look at that reflection, guys. Look at that saturation. Look at that shine. That is what I'm looking for, okay? So let's do that again. And this is why, you guys can see it already. That got me excited, but you can see exactly why this is one of my favorite cocktails already, all right? So my sectioning is anywhere from about a ½ inch to a ¼ inch. Just depends on the density that I'm working with and the texture that I'm working with. If I'm working with baby fine, I'm more on that ½ inch. If I'm working with more of a coarse texture of hair, meaning that the actual circumference of that hair strand is actually thicker, then I'm going to go ahead and do more of that ¼ inch size subsection, okay? And that's going to be the reason again why I say that. It's because we put a lot of tension on our flat irons, right? Which means that if we are putting tension with our flat irons to straighten the hair, that we could actually be applying tension towards that scalp, right? Creating issues, breakage, etc. And that's the last thing that I want my client to have in my chair. So that's why I work with that about ¼ inch to a ½ inch subsection when I'm doing my straightening. Coming in, chasing my comb with my flat iron. That way I can get those ends nice and smooth, guys. And if you really want those ends to be nice and smooth, kiss your comb to your flat iron while you're chasing it. It will make the world of a difference, you guys. Just for you guys that are just joining us, you can see that my favorite cocktail with Lonza is trauma treatment and neem plant serum, equal parts. I use them for my silk outs. My clients love it, and so do I. Let's see what this front area is looking like. We're almost to that pop of color at the front. Now, if you guys are just joining us, what I was demoing earlier was my blonding series. We were talking about lines of demarcation and how important it is. And I also showed my grand finale technique, which is my Air Touch highlights. Okay? It's my Air Touch highlights. Okay? I'm going to take one more section. I'm going to iron her out. There's our pop of color. You guys see it there? We're getting to it. That way you guys can see what it looks like when it's dry. You know. When it's straight and when it's curly, it looks a little different. Okay. I always like to say the straight hair will show any imperfections if you have any. If you have any. That curly hair can definitely hide them, right, guys? So, can't wait for my hair to look like that on Sunday. I know that's right, China. It's going down, okay? It is going down. That's one of my hair besties, y'all, representing in the chat. I get to take care of her this Sunday. And yes, we will have your hair pop in China, I promise. All right. Thank you. Somebody said it looks pretty. Awesome. Thank you, China. Perfect. Okay. We're going to go ahead and continue. We are almost done, guys. I appreciate everybody that's in the chat, interacting, writing comments. Again, you guys can follow me at Cosmo with the K, Chris with the K on Instagram as well as Facebook. And if you guys don't already like the Lonza page, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure that you're liking the Lonza page, okay? That way you guys can get the notifications for the additional education that's happening. What I think is awesome is that, again, Lonza is a brand that has a lot of integrity, and they keep it coming with the education for you guys every month. Every month they keep it coming. So definitely tune in. I know I seen there was a social media conversation earlier this week talking about captions and what to write. That was so awesome. Definitely go check out that presentation from another talented healing artist. Look at that pop of color though, right? Okay, all right. Looking good. So this is just showing you how different that color can look from straight to curly. And this is why when you're doing your chunky highlights on your curly hair, this is why you want to do it, because it looks so different straight to curly. Okay? So again, this is my favorite cocktail. I'll go ahead and show you that hair nice and close again. Alright. See that healthy hair? See that reflection, that shine? Okay? And there we have it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my mannequin, see if we can get her rinsed really fast so you guys can see the finished look. In the meantime, you guys can take a look at these beautiful, beautiful Air Touch highlights that I did on my mannequin. Okay? And again, this is the end result of the softest line of demarcation. Okay? Looking good, right? All right. Let me go ahead and get that mannequin rinsed out for you guys so you guys can see that. I'll go ahead and blow her dry and then we'll get out of here. All right? Give me 1 second if that's okay. If not, you guys can definitely see the finished look here, right? Where there's no line of demarcation at that scalp. All right? You got that beautiful dimension there. Give me just 1 moment, okay, guys? We make sure we check these bad boys out before we rinse them. Make sure everything is looking good. There we go. Everything is looking good. We're just gonna get it going a little bit more. Alright. So I want you guys to tell you guys really quickly why I started doing hair and how I got to this point in my career. Why I started doing hair actually was because as a little kid, my little niece would come over and my sisters would have to do her hair, and I would have to wait hours, literally hours to be able to play with my little niece. My little niece is my best friend. She was the closest in age in my family. We grew up together. And you know what, one day I was like, you know what, y'all are taking too long with her hair, and I want to go play. So guess what? I was like, you know what, can I help? I think I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. I was like, can I help and do her hair? And you guys, when I tell you that the rest was history, I helped to do her hair. Then I became her hairstylist by the time I got to high school. You guys, I was a closeted hairstylist back then, so even my other best friend will tell you, she found out I was doing my niece's hair, and she was like, you gotta do mine too, or else I'm telling the world. So I was a closeted hairstylist back in school, and I had my best friend, I would do her hair, I did my niece's hair, and you know what I told them? Don't tell nobody. Well, about, 20 years later, you guys, I am here doing hair professionally. It was honestly a passion of mine that never left. So, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and get this rinsed out. And then you guys let me know in the chat your why. What got you started in the hair industry? Go ahead and write it in the chat.
Oh, okay, right. The only place. Are you watching?
Sorry, girl, you're fine.
You watching?
I'm just in the ridge.
You still on that?
Hot. Yeah, it's still on, yeah, because listen, I'm still on. I really want them to see this finished, so. They didn't kick me off yet, so I'm still going. Even though I could have tapped out like 30 minutes ago.
She said you want her to show while you watch it?
What's that?
You want to hold the phone while you watch it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fine. Thank you.
You want me to do it? Not on his thing. Yeah,
That's okay. That's okay. You're fine. Just, don't tell nobody that I'm... Did they keep me off already? No? Okay, thank you. Perfect. Alright, you guys, I got her shampooed real fast. That was that 5-second shampoo. Now we're going to go ahead and get her dry so you guys can see the finished look. Did you guys write your why? What got you started in the hair industry? What made you want to become a professional hairstylist? Let me know in the chat, guys. I was just sharing my why. I was telling you, as my niece was my first client. I used to do her hair back in high school, and I used to tell her that she can't tell nobody that I'm doing her hair. I was like, nope. I was a whole closeted hairstylist, you guys. Oh, man. And then as far as being able to teach, you guys, I'm a second-generation educator. My mom actually used to teach special ed for like some 24, 25 years. And so I didn't even know she was teaching special ed until I got to like high school. I just thought they were regular students because my mom didn't play no games with her students. She knew that they could do something. She made sure that they did it, even if they didn't know themselves. And I think I like to think of myself as very much the same way, that I can see that students want to grow, want to become leaders in the industry one day, right? And being able to be an educator at the school, a cosmetology school, really helps you to assist with whatever dreams that people want to achieve when it gets to this industry. I always tell my students it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that you got to get your piece, right? And so that should motivate you. That should absolutely motivate you. And if it doesn't, then maybe you need to switch on to something else, right? But passion is something that you can't teach. So when I see it in my students, I'm excited by it, and I want to nurture that. You know what I mean? So, all right. So I went ahead and applied a 50-50 cocktail for my neem plant serum, neem plant silk serum, and my trauma treatment with that beautiful flower chilled complex in there. It's also got my heat protectant in there. Equal parts, you guys. I'm Cosmo Chris. I love a good Cosmopolitan. It's my favorite cocktail. And this is my favorite Lanza cocktail. Let's go ahead and get you guys started. Blow dry to 75% dry, always, or else you're out here blow drying hair that ain't gonna be dry for another 25 minutes. And it ain't gonna start curling for another 15. So just blow it dry, 15% please guys, at least 15%. On the next session, you guys, we're gonna go ahead and talk more color toning on blondes. Okay, so that'll be the next section. If you guys wanna get into it, please follow me. Please look on Monza's page for the next class that I'm teaching and make sure that you guys are there, okay? We're almost done today, so thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're almost done. Phalange blow dry, that's what I like to call this. Making sure we're blowing down the cuticle, right? And then I'm just gonna go ahead and now that she's, and I always say my 75% dry, you can see clusters of wet hair as well as the frizz from the dry hair. That's usually a good sign, okay? You guys can already see that transition, right? Where it's nice and bright in the front and it's super soft towards the back already. There we go, you guys. You can see the finished look. Nice and dry. There we go. All right. There we have it, our finished look, okay? So let's talk about it. We're gonna do a little bit of a recap for you. Hold on, let me grab my comb. A little bit of a recap for you, and then we're gonna close out. If there's any questions, please drop them in the chat to make sure that I can answer them before I get off of live. We're talking about the line of demarcation, okay? The line of demarcation is the transition from one color to the next. It's either soft, where you see a soft transition, or a fade from one to the next, or it's a hard transition where you have a harsh line. What's that harshest line of transition when it comes to flailing, you guys? Go ahead and type it in the chat if you can. What's the harshest line of demarcation and that you guys can see? What would be the harshest line? That would be the slicing, right? And as you can see, we've got that going on right here. Look at that. Harshest line, okay? Right there. Boom. Okay? So that's going to give you the harshest line. Then from there, we went into our teasy slice. You can see that that line blended a little bit more, okay? From there, I went into my chunky slice, which you can see began here. Then I went there, then there, then there, all the way to about here. Okay, and that was my chunky slice. Again, I like to do, no, my chunky slice is from here to here. With my chunky slice, I like to do more hair in the foil than out of the foil, okay? Then with my medium, it was 50-50, which you can see right here. So chunky slice was right in here. Then it went medium slice right in here, which was, again, my 50-50. So 50% in the foil, 50% out of the foil. Chunky, medium, teasy slice, slice. And then guess what? We finished it off with the grand finale, right? And that's our beautiful Air Touch highlights. And can you guys see a line of demarcation there? Because I definitely can't, right? Let me zoom in for you. Do you see that? That's money right there, okay? That's why it took 5 hours if it does, okay? And that's why you charge a lot. That's why it'll last you 6 months to a year. And that is why I wanted to share it with you guys as part of my blonding series for Lonza Healing Hair and Care. Again, I'm Christopher Johnson. I'm at Cosmo with the K, Chris with the K. All right. Did my 3 beauties for you today. This was my first mannequin that was already pre-done with the Air Touch highlights. My second mannequin with my beautiful line of demarcation application, where we went from slices into teasy slices, into chunky weaves, into medium weaves, into that beautiful Air Touched finish. All right, no line of demarcation on that Air Touch. And you guys are also got to learn what Cosmo Chris's favorite cocktail is, which is that neem plant serum, equal parts to my trauma treatment. I went ahead and silked her out. This was her after, nice and shiny and moving, lots of agility to the hair, volume. And then this was her before with her beautiful texture, right? Okay, so there you go. And then, of course, the finished masterpiece. You guys have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for